I need to tell you about something that happened in April of 2026 that stopped me cold. China just built a car engine that gets 106 miles per gallon, not in a test lab, not in some concept car that will never see a road, in a real production car that people are already buying. And Guinness World Records flew in, tested it themselves, and made it official. This is the highest fuel efficiency ever recorded for a mass-produced car engine in human history. And the company that built it is publicly saying it will destroy every hybrid Toyota, Honda, and Nissan have ever made. When I looked into what they actually pulled off and what the numbers actually mean, I understood why every major automaker on Earth should be genuinely worried right now. The company behind this engine is called Geely. If that name doesn't ring a bell, let me tell you who they are, because this is the part that sets up everything else. Geely owns Volvo. They own Polestar. They own Lotus. They are the single largest shareholder of Mercedes-Benz. And they got all of that starting from almost nothing. The man who built Geely is named Li Shufu, and his story is one of the most remarkable things I've ever come across. He was born in 1963 in a poor farming village. His father was a farmer. In 1986, when he was in his early 20s, he borrowed about $3,000 from his family and opened a tiny factory making refrigerator parts. He named the company Geely, which in Chinese means lucky. He had no connections, no engineering degree, no powerful friends in government, just an idea and a willingness to keep going when everyone around him said stop. He switched to making motorcycles in 1994. Then, in 1997, he announced he wanted to build cars. The entire industry laughed at him. He had no factory. He had no experience. He told reporters that building a car isn't that complicated, it's just 4 wheels and 2 couches. People called him crazy to his face. But in 2001, he became the first private Chinese company ever to receive a license to manufacture automobiles. Then, in 2007, he did something even more unexpected. He wrote a letter to Ford Motor Company offering to buy Volvo. Ford didn't even write back. He showed up at the Detroit Auto Show in 2008, and Ford brushed him off again. So he came back in 2009, and in 2010, the farmer's son from Zhejiang walked out of Ford headquarters, having paid $1.8 billion cash for one of the most famous car brands in the world. Then, in 2018, he bought nearly 10% of Daimler, making him the single largest individual shareholder of Mercedes-Benz. I tell you all of this because that same obsession, that same refusal to accept limits, is exactly what produced the engine I'm about to describe to you. But before I get to the engine itself, I have to explain why this matters so much right now. For the past several years, the story we've all been told is simple. Electric cars are the future. Gas engines are dying. Everyone is going electric, and I understand why that story is appealing. Electric cars are quiet. They're smooth. In the right situation, they're genuinely great. But the more I looked into the real-world experience of living with one, the more I saw cracks in that story that nobody in the industry wants to talk about honestly. Start with charging. When car companies advertise fast charging, what they actually mean is, you sit at a charging station for somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes to get your battery up to 80%. If you're on a road trip with your family, that's not a quick stop. That's a serious interruption to your day every single time. And that's when chargers are working, which is far from guaranteed. Then there's cold weather. Electric car batteries lose 30 to 40% of their range when temperatures drop below freezing. That 300-mile range you paid $60,000 for becomes 180 miles in a Michigan winter. And when your battery eventually wears out, replacing it costs anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 or more. That's basically buying a used car just to keep your electric car running. There's also the environmental side that doesn't get talked about enough. Electric car batteries need lithium, cobalt, and nickel. Mining those materials causes real damage. Huge open pit mines, toxic runoff, and most of the world's cobalt comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. where child labor in mining has been well documented. And if every American switched to an electric car tomorrow, the power grid as it exists today literally could not handle the load. The Department of Energy has been raising this concern for years. None of this means electric cars are bad, but it does mean the story is more complicated than we've been told. And while America was busy arguing about electric car mandates and charging networks, China was quietly building something that cuts through all of those problems. Something I genuinely was not prepared for when I first looked at the numbers. At the Beijing Auto Show in April 2026, Geely walked on stage and announced what they are calling the IHEV Intelligent Hybrid System. At the center of it is a brand new engine called the BH15. It's a 1.5-liter four-cylinder engine, which is actually pretty small, and then they put the first number on the screen. 48.41% thermal efficiency. I want to explain what that means because it's the key to understanding why this is such a big deal. When your car burns fuel, only some of that energy actually moves the car. The rest gets wasted as heat that goes out the tailpipe. A typical car engine in use today converts about 30 to 35% of the fuel into motion. That means 65 to 70% of every gallon you buy is wasted. Toyota's best hybrid engine, the one the entire industry has admired for 30 years, sits at about 41% efficiency. It's the gold standard. Everyone said it couldn't be beaten. Geely just hit 48.41%. Guinness World Records tested it and confirmed it. That is officially the highest thermal efficiency ever achieved by any mass-produced car engine on Earth. And to give you a sense of how extreme that number is, Formula One racing engines, the most advanced combustion engines ever built by human beings, designed without any cost limits by the smartest engineers in motorsport, run at around 50%. Geely is now within 2 percentage points of Formula One, in an engine that goes into a sedan that costs $9,000. But the engine alone is only half the story. Geely took that engine, paired it with a 308 horsepower electric motor and their AI power management system, and tested the combination on a closed course in Hainan. The result was an average of 2.22 liters per 100 kilometers. In the measurement that makes more sense to most people reading this, that is 106 miles per gallon. Guinness verified that number too. Now here is the comparison that made my jaw drop. In 2024, Toyota drove a Prius from Los Angeles all the way to New York City, specifically to show off its real-world fuel efficiency. They averaged 92.9 miles per gallon on that trip. It was a genuine achievement. Toyota was proud of it, and rightfully so. Geely just beat it by more than 12%. A Geely spokesman stood on stage and said their technology will comprehensively surpass the hybrid technology from Japan. That's not a casual marketing line. That's a direct challenge to the most respected name in hybrid engineering, backed up by world record numbers. And Geely isn't the only Chinese company doing this. That's the part I really want you to sit with for a moment. BYD, the company that already passed Tesla to become the world's top-selling electric vehicle maker, launched their fifth-generation hybrid system in 2024 with a 46.06% thermal efficiency. Their system gives a combined driving range of over 2,100 kilometers on one tank of gas and one charge. That is more than 1,300 miles. To picture that, it's roughly the distance from Miami to Boston without stopping once. Chang'an, SAIC, GAC, Sherry, and Great Wall have all launched hybrid systems with ranges above 2,000 kilometers in the past 18 months. A brand called Aito, which most Americans have never heard of, has already hit 45% thermal efficiency in their L7 sedan. Meanwhile, Toyota and Honda's best hybrid engines are still sitting at 41%. Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis are mostly still selling engines that haven't crossed 35%. That gap isn't a small difference. That's a generational difference. That's like comparing a smartphone to a flip phone and saying they both make calls. What makes this even bigger is where Geely's technology goes from here. The same engine system is rolling out into their larger SUVs. It's going into commercial vehicles. And because Geely owns Volvo and Polestar and has a joint venture that builds smart cars with Mercedes and licenses powertrain technology to Western automakers through a company called Horsepower, this technology is not staying inside China. It is going into European cars. It will eventually show up in cars sold in America and every other market on Earth. The technology that just broke the world record in Beijing is on its way to your local dealership, just wearing a different badge. Imagine pulling into a gas station once a month, filling up a tank that takes you 1,300 miles, not needing to plan your road trips around charging stops, not worrying about what happens to your range when it gets cold, not sitting in a parking lot for 30 minutes waiting for your car to drink enough electricity to get home. That's not a distant dream. That's what Chinese consumers are already experiencing. We're just not there yet. I keep coming back to Li Shufu, the farmer's son who borrowed $3,000 and decided he was going to build cars. The man that Ford wouldn't even respond to. The man the entire auto industry called delusional. 40 years later, his company has produced the most fuel-efficient production car engine ever recorded by Guinness World Records. And his engineers did it not by dreaming bigger, but by refusing to believe that Toyota's 41% was an unbreakable ceiling. They just went and broke it. The future of how the world moves is not being decided in Detroit anymore. It's not being decided in Tokyo. It already got decided in Hangzhou, and the rest of the world is just starting to realize it.